Oh, yeah. Is it Thursday already? We got set photo leaks from Star Wars Starfighter with Ryan Gosling and Sean Levy. We also got The Mandalorian and Grogu connecting to the sequel trilogy. That might be some bad news for some fans, but some great news for others. And if that's not enough, John Watts, the creator of Skeleton Crew, just, kind of talked about how he's going to be making a season 2. And George Lucas's museum has a release date. We got a lot to get into and not a lot of time. So without further ado, let's dive into all of it. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing on this fine Thursday afternoon? Oh, we got a fun one today. Finally, some more Star Wars Starfighter leaks. I mean, not really leaks. They're coming straight from the source, Sean Levy himself. However, it's still a leak nonetheless. Star Wars Starfighter has been filming since August, and it will continue filming probably into next year. But we haven't really gotten much in terms of set leaks until today. We got some more photos from the set of Star Wars Starfighter, and it's got me pretty damn excited. We're talking about possibly going back to Naboo. You can't go wrong with that. And The Mandalorian and Grogu. The news just keeps getting better for the next upcoming Star Wars movie, because we got some more stuff that's connecting this story to not only Grand Admiral Thrawn, but to Supreme Leader Snoke, the First Order, and the sequel trilogy itself. It's going to be a fun one today. Oh, yeah. So let's start the stream the only way we know how. Let's start it the right way by saying hi to everybody in the chat. Shall we? Shall we? Another Mike who loves Star Wars. What is up? John Groom in the house. Steve, how we doing? Star Wars Santa, what is up? Holly, how we doing? Ron in the house. Max Rebo, what is up? Brandon Baker, how we doing? WV Grad in the building. Nathan, what is up? I Hodja, how we doing? Master Beckham, what is up? Darth Plagueis lives in the house. All right, if I missed you, you know the deal. April, what's up? 730 Evie, how we doing? All right, if I missed you, you know the deal. Just yell at me in the chat. Let's give everybody a nice little...
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
All right. I think we got to start with this. Actually, I don't even know where we start. I'll leave it up to you guys. Where do you want to start? Starfighter, Mando, or Skeleton Crew, I guess? Where should we start? The Mandalorian and Grogu sequel trilogy connections. And it's kind of what we talked about a little bit on Tuesday's stream, but even crazier. Or do you want to go to Starfighter and talk about those set photo leaks? We got an insane amount to do. Just, Dave, what's up? How we doing? Sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, we are all over the place here. We are all over the place already. This is not good, Jen. This is not good. Let me put that over there. That's better. That's better. Okay. Let me just, Garage Goose, what's up? How we doing? Let's put this, okay. So, I'm seeing Mandalorian and Grogu. Oh, wait, I'm seeing a lot of Starfighter. Okay, we'll start with Starfighter. Starfighter seems to be winning. Okay, Starfighter it is. We haven't really talked a lot of this Star Wars Starfighter as of late, so it's going to be good. So if you don't know what this movie is, I'll give you a very, very brief recap. Sean Levy, the legendary director behind stuff like, Deadpool and Wolverine. Oh, we got a super chat. I'll check that out in 1 sec. Behind Deadpool and Wolverine, which made $1 billion last year. The guy who's giving us multiple episodes of the upcoming Season 5 final season of Stranger Things, but a guy who's been all over the place when it comes to making movies, from Night at the Museum to anything and everything in between. Now he's taking his first punch at Star Wars with Ryan Gosling being the lead of the movie. Flynn Gray playing a Force-sensitive child whose mom is Amy Adams, who was once a Jedi, possibly Mara Jade. And you have a loaded cast of Matt Smith, Mia Goth, like I just mentioned, Amy Adams and Ryan Gosling, Aaron Pierre, and more. So it takes place 5 years after the rise of Skywalker, and it's got me pretty damn excited. It's supposed to be a standalone movie, not a prequel, not a sequel. We actually even have an interview today of Sean Levy talking about this movie in the set photo leaks along with it. But on a scale of 1 to 10, let's start there. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for Star Wars Starfighter? I feel like because it's still so far away, its release date is May of 2027. It's a year and a half from now. People aren't really that excited. Like, the hype level is still pretty low, but tell me in the chat, where are we at for Star Wars Starfighter? And while you do so, let me get to this super chat. Ron with the very generous $5 holla says Starfighter. All right, Ron, the Starfighter it is. And let's put up a poll. Let's put up a poll. If you haven't smashed a freaking like already, I don't know what the hell you're waiting for. Get on that. Let's do this. 9.5. Anything news got me fired up. I like the sound of that. 5 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 8, 7 out of 10, 9.5, 7, 8. All right, we're kind of all over the place. Some pretty high scores, though. 9.5. That's pretty high right there. 5 out of 10, 5 out of 10. All right. Yeah, it's kind of hard because it's so far away. But the little information that we do have about this movie, and the more and more that keeps coming out, just gets me more and more excited. Now, let me actually put up a poll. If you haven't smashed a freaking like on this stream, get on that. Do you think... Oh, hang on. Starfighter will be... Oh, hang on. Will be... I can't type today. The beginning of a new trilogy. Yes or no? We're going to be talking all about this. These set photo leaks are really, really cool. But we got to talk about the rumored Ryan Gosling-led Star Wars trilogy. So tell me in the chat, do you think this will be the beginning of a new trilogy? And while you do so, let's take a look at this. Let's take a look. So the latest and greatest from Star Wars Starfighter was this image, posted by Sean Levy himself, or Levy himself, because it was Ryan Gosling's birthday, maybe yesterday or a couple days ago. I'm not too sure. It was his birthday at some point, somewhat recently. We'll put it that way. And this was the post. This was the post that was posted. The post. Yeah, exactly. Ryan Gosling in character. Well, obviously not. He's wearing a hat that says "Never tell me the odds," but this is what his character will look like in the movie. And they are filming on the Mediterranean Sea. That's where they've been filming for the most part for the run of the early months of this shooting. Now, we know they're right off the coast of Italy in the Mediterranean Sea, which happens to be where Naboo is. A lot of the Naboo scenes from The Phantom Menace are filmed was in Italy. Now, this has led Star Wars fans to, lose their freaking minds, go a little crazy because they want Naboo to come back into Star Wars. We haven't seen it since the prequel trilogy times. I guess technically we saw it in Andor Season 2 with, oh, we got another super chat? What the hell you guys doing? Feeling extra generous today, huh, chat? I'll get to that in one sec. We haven't seen Naboo since Andor Season 2 this year. But other than that, it's been since the prequel trilogy. So it's been a while. It's been a while. Might not be the the only planet we talk about today that we could be going back to. Keep that in the back of your head. But this has led Star Wars fans to think Naboo is coming. Now, it'd be really cool to see Naboo post-sequels, see how they have, reacted to the fact that one of their own, a senator from Naboo, became the most evil person in the galaxy and ruled the galaxy for a really long time. I wonder how Naboo is, recovering from that. Sheev Palpatine, native of Naboo, becomes emperor of the whole galaxy, evil Sith Lord. Kind of hard to take. However, it will be very cool to see 5 years after all that, after Palpatine is truly gone, we think, see what the status of Naboo looks like. And it's very interesting that we're seeing yet another Force-sensitive child possibly on the planet of Naboo. Maybe. Young Palpatine confirmed. No. Young Palpatine not confirmed in the slightest. However, this was one of very many images that we got today. This is the same sort of him getting ready to shoot, and you see in this one a very watery planet. Now, it could be anything but Naboo. I don't know. Is there any other fully water planets other than Kamino in Star Wars that we know of? What do we think? Here we get another look at our Flynn Gray character down here. Ryan Gosling teaching him up. We got them there, too, on the coast of what looks to be Italy. Could be Naboo. And them there, too. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Now, when it comes to these images, we're all getting the same location. This nice, watery Mediterranean Sea type vibe. Is this kid a Skywalker? We don't know. I guess that's the easy, simple answer. We don't know. But I will say, the rumors, the leaks, take them with a giant grain of salt, but the rumors do suggest that this kid is Force sensitive and that his mom, played by Amy Adams, is a former Jedi. Now, she's not old enough, Amy Adams, that is not old enough to have been a survivor of Order 66. So she must be, then, a survivor of Luke's Jedi Temple, making her somewhat of a very important character. And you can't help but notice that her hair is, red. And it's a very infamous Legends character that has the red hair, and that is Mara Jade. And it would be the perfect age. We've talked about this before, but she'd be the perfect age to be a Mara Jade, have a child, and yes, that would be with Luke Skywalker. And that would, in fact, mean that this kid right here would probably be Luke Skywalker's child. The problem with that theory, though, is that Sean Levy, and maybe they're just trying to throw us off the scent, but Sean Levy is insisting that this movie is not a prequel, not a sequel. It's a standalone project, new characters, new story. Nothing is the same. Nothing is connected to the Skywalker saga. And if this kid is Luke's son, that would be pretty connected to the Skywalker saga, if you ask me. It's Mara Jade, I'm telling you. Again, if Amy Adams is playing Mara Jade and Flynn Gray is playing Luke Skywalker's child, that is very connected to the Skywalker saga. That is definitely not a standalone, not connected, not a prequel, not a sequel story that they're trying to make us believe. Again, it could just be them trying to throw us off the scent. It could be them just keeping this all a secret, trying to keep the fact that this is Luke Skywalker's son a secret. That's a possibility. But from what we know, not think, but what we know about this movie from Sean Levy, whatever the hell his name is, and Ryan Gosling himself, they tell us it's a standalone movie. So whether you believe them or not, that's completely up to you. But this kid is Force sensitive. Is he Luke Skywalker's son? That's up for debate. Should we pull it up? All right, let's pull it up. Fine. Actually, no. I want to keep the trilogy poll up for a second while we talk about the trilogy. So just tell me in the chat, do you think that this is Luke Skywalker's son? Do you think Amy Adams is playing Mara Jade in the Star Wars Starfighter movie? Because that would be heavily connected to what's come before. And while you do so, let me get to this super chats. Hang on. Darth Plagueis lives with a very generous $10 super chat. Holy crap, that's extremely generous. I appreciate that. Says, need me some more Skeleton Crew. You and me both. Also, isn't Gosling actually getting a trilogy? That's the rumor. Okay? I think I have... Did I not pull it up? Hang on. I think I saved it. Did I not really? Dang. Could have sworn I did. Where is it? Aha, I did. Okay. No, I didn't. Damn it. Where is this? I didn't open it. All right, let me try something else. Ryan Gosling Star Wars Trilogy. When in doubt, go to Google. All right, let's see. That's not it. That's not it. Well, now I can't even find it. Okay. Either way, the rumor was, we'll start with that. The rumor was that this was going to be the beginning of a trilogy, much like The Mandalorian and Grogu will be. I think the way that Lucasfilm looks at all these upcoming movies is if they are successful, then they will be the beginning of trilogies. And I think it's because of Disney that they can't greenlight a trilogy yet. They need a success in the box office before they do. The Mandalorian and Grogu, they already have the idea for a second movie with Dave Filoni and probably a third for an entire trilogy with Thrawn as the main villain. The only problem is Disney won't greenlight it until they've seen success in the box office, which makes sense from a business perspective. But from a fan perspective, I would way rather get excited for a Mando trilogy than just a Mando and Grogu movie. Same can probably be said about Starfighter as well. If they're marketing Star Wars Starfighter as the beginning of a new trilogy, a post-Episode 9, a post-Skywalker Saga trilogy, then it would probably get a lot more attention from Star Wars fans. Still to this day, even though Starfighter was announced, 6 months ago, still to this day, people don't even know what Starfighter is. You mention Star Wars Starfighter and they're like, what the hell is that? So you got to get the attention of the quote-unquote normie fans, and if you announced it as a trilogy, the beginning of a new trilogy, a new saga in the post-sequel world, that would get the attention. That would get the hype level up a whole nother notch for Ryan Gosling being in the beginning of a new trilogy. The problem is... Oh, wait. Here we go. I think I found it. The problem is... here we go. Some people don't want it. Some people don't want Ryan Gosling in Star Wars because they don't like the A-list actors in Star Wars. Some people don't like the fact that he could be getting his own trilogy. Yeah, here we go. So, again, this is a rumor, but this is a rumor that is kind of old at this point. But it's just a rumor for now, so take it with a giant grain of salt. And it came from October 1st, so we're talking over a month ago now. Production is underway on Sean Levy's Star Wars Starfighter, and while little has been revealed about the film outside of its main cast, there are plenty of reasons for fans of the galaxy far, far away to get excited about the project, which is due in theaters in 2027. Ryan Gosling was confirmed as the film's star during Celebration in Japan, making good on months of rumors that the A-list actor is going to be joined by Matt Smith, who joined the cast in August, the next great villain in the Star Wars universe, and Mia Goth, who was cast in June, are set to be the antagonists, and it's rumored he's going to be protecting a Force-sensitive nephew played by Flynn Gray. Yes, here we go. So according to My Time to Shine Hello, despite Lucasfilm's designating Star Wars Starfighter to be a standalone project, the film will include a quote-unquote big cameo and is meant to launch a new trilogy. So we've talked about who that big cameo could be, whether it be Rey at the end, and Ryan Gosling is trying to bring Flynn Gray's character to Rey in sort of a Mando-verse type story. But if it's the start of a new trilogy, then you could be looking at the Rey movie that was announced all those years ago. You could be looking at the Rey movie being the second installment of the trilogy. So if Ryan Gosling hands off this Force-sensitive child to Rey in her new Jedi Order, it's possible that that will be the plot of the second movie. And the villains, Matt Smith and Mia Goth, could come along with it. They are still hunting down this child. And it might be that the connecting piece through this entire trilogy is not the good guys, because it's going to switch hands from Ryan Gosling to Rey, but it's the bad guys. It's the Matt Smiths of it all. Now, we don't technically know who they're playing. They could be new Sith. They could be pirates. They could be Yuzon Vong, for all we know. They could be Grisk. But either way, I think you're going to see Matt Smith sort of be the new face of villain in Star Wars, at least in the somewhat near future. Yeah. None of these get me excited about upcoming Star Wars. Well, I guess that's... Yeah. Most interesting one is the Rey movie, if that's still even happening. The Rey movie is definitely still happening. It just hasn't started filming yet. I'm assuming it'll start filming next year. At least that's what the rumors indicate. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with the whole hunt for Ben Solo type stuff. Yeah. That's true too. Oh, I missed a super chat. Hang on. Steve, what's up? With a $2 holla, I appreciate that. Says Skeleton Crew Season 2, let's go. That just made my day. Oh, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the Skeleton Crew Season 2 in a little bit. Yeah. The planet that's in the Bad Batch that they retired on has a lot of water. I can't recall the name, though. Oh, Pabu? Interesting. So you think this planet right here is Pabu? That'd be kind of cool. I mean, the Bad Batch would have to be dead by now, so they wouldn't be hanging out there. This is way too far into the future. There's no way. But I mean, could still be the same planet, I suppose. This is what I suggested before. Starfighter won't be the part of a trilogy, won't be a trilogy, but it will be the launching pad for the new trilogy. It could be. I mean, it could be like the Rogue One to the original trilogy, even though Rogue One came after the original trilogy. But it's sort of a launching pad for that trilogy. Kickstarts the whole Death Star plans and all that stuff. Could be. I just don't like the idea of the one-off Star Wars movie. Sometimes it can work. Don't get me wrong. Rogue One, masterpiece. Even Solo, extremely underrated. But for the most part, we need to be getting trilogies. I'm not talking like 10 trilogies at a time, but at least a trilogy constantly. The Mandalorian and Grogu should be the beginning of a trilogy. Because then for not just the next 8 months we can be excited for The Mandalorian, for the next 9 years we can be excited for The Mandalorian, or 6 years, whatever it ends up being. Star Wars has always and should always work in that form. Especially with The Mandalorian and Grogu. Actually, yesterday was the 6-year anniversary of not just The Mandalorian Season 1, but Disney Plus in general. So it's been 6 years since we got Star Wars onto the small screen in live action, with The Mandalorian Season 1 kickstarting it off and all the different shows we've gotten over the last 6 years. Now, it's been pretty insane to be a Star Wars fan for the last 6 years because we've gotten so much content, and people kind of overlook the fact that we've gotten so much great stuff just in a very short amount of time. But this is just the beginning. Like, 6 years is nothing. So we're not going to... It's a very small sample size, what we're looking at here over the past 5 or 6 years on Disney+. When we look to the future, yes, we're going back to the big screen with The Mandalorian and Starfighter, but we're still staying on Disney+. We still got Ahsoka Season 2. We're talking about Skeleton Crew Season 2 today. You could even get a Book of Boba Fett or even something completely new. But either way, when you look at stuff like The Mandalorian and Grogu, it's the perfect example of how Disney Plus could benefit greatly from what could be with all that stuff on the big screen. Because you can take your biggest and best projects and shift it onto the big screen if it's a big success like The Mandalorian. Yeah. Starfighter will also not feature any Skywalker as cameos. It will introduce completely new characters, some of whom will appear in the Kinberg trilogy. Yeah, the Kinberg trilogy is a mystery to me too. Like, what is he up to over there? Simon Kinberg is getting his own trilogy. What does that mean? What are we supposed to be getting from that? You know? Yeah. That guy B, what's up? How we doing? It feels like Lucasfilm has an idea on which movie they want to make a trilogy, but Disney is putting the brakes on those plans to see if The Mandalorian and Grogu is a box office success. Yeah. That's pretty much what's going on. Disney has had too much failures, let's put it that way, in the box office recently that they don't want to fail again. Now, that's not Star Wars' fault. I mean, that comes from Marvel and Pixar and Disney Animation, where they're getting all those failures. But they don't want the same thing to happen to Star Wars. Disney has been scarred too many times to allow them to greenlight a trilogy right away without seeing a guaranteed success. Which to some people might be like, that's stupid, but it does make sense from a business perspective. Yeah. Yeah, Kinberg is getting his own trilogy. I feel like that's still years and years away. Yeah. So Ryan Gosling and Flynn Gray will have a movie and get established. Then they hang out with Rey for a movie, and then they go look for Ben Solo? No. If Ben Solo does return, if the hunt for Ben Solo does happen, that will all take place, I assume, before the events of Starfighter. Because he's supposed to, come back right away. This is 5 years later. What has he been doing for the last 5 years? Just hanging out? Being dead? I don't think so. I don't think so. If The Mandalorian and Grogu and Starfighter aren't a success, will Disney just shut down live-action Star Wars altogether? Well, you'd hate to think that it won't be a success, either movie for that matter. But let's say, worst come to worst, The Mandalorian and Grogu makes, I don't know, $400 million. Starfighter makes less. Both movies underperform greatly. What happens then? I assume you sound the alarm. I assume all hell breaks loose and just shit hits the fan. Like, you're going to see cancellations from a ton of different Star Wars movies and projects. You're going to see all this stuff. They're going to take a huge step back. However, I don't see that happening in a million years. You're coming out back to the big screen with The Mandalorian and Grogu. Supposedly, this guaranteed success that we've heard so much about. Yeah. And then you're going to combat that with Starfighter, which is Sean Levy, who's got the great track record, and Ryan Gosling, who's going to put asses in seats. Yeah. What if the child is Ben and Rey's child? That can't happen. The math is not mathing there. This kid, Flynn Gray, is playing here. You can see right there. I believe he is 12, maybe 13 years old. Something around that. A very young teen child. So there's no way that Rey could have a teenager by now, only 5 years after the Rise of Skywalker. However, we've done this math before on the live stream. You can have this character be Luke's child. Because if he is 13 or 14 years old, well, 13 or 14 years before this movie takes place would put you right at the time, right before, by about a year or so, Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple gets destroyed. So Luke would be able to have a child, and then all the bad stuff happens. Kylo Ren turns to the dark side. Luke's Jedi Temple gets destroyed. He goes into hiding on Ahch-To. All that can happen after he has the child. That's why so many people love the theory that this is Luke's child. Again, the big problem being that doesn't work. That's not what Sean Levy is telling us, that this movie's a standalone, this movie's not connected, all that great stuff. Yeah. Okay, so hear me out. This is like a Star Trek where they bring back Spock from the dead, but Ben Solo is back as a youngster due to the Genesis Project? I don't watch Star Trek. I couldn't tell you what that even means. But I'm going to say no. Yeah. Let's see what Avatar does in December before we talk about guaranteed successes. Avatar is an interesting one. Avatar 2 made $2 billion. I haven't seen Avatar 2, so I don't know if it's good or not. But I haven't watched Avatar 1 since it came out in whatever it was, 2007 or whenever that was. It will be interesting to see if that can recapture the success 3 times in a row. I'm going to say no, but we'll see. We shall see. Yeah. So, all that to say, we got set photos of Starfighter where they're filming in Italy or off the coast of Italy on the Mediterranean Sea. You got this one from Sean Levy where he posted it for Ryan Gosling's birthday. And they're either filming for Naboo or a very watery planet. I don't know. Either way, they're using the Mediterranean Sea to film a lot of this movie with Ryan Gosling and Flynn Gray together on the water and looking like they're riding some speeder bikes as well. And Flynn Gray is rumored to be playing a Force-sensitive child, the child of Amy Adams, who is rumored to be a former Jedi. Sounds pretty cool. Just from the very brief description that we have, just from the set photos that we have, this movie does have me excited. A post-sequel world where we have new villains, new characters, new Jedi, new Force-sensitive kids. That all sounds great. And I can't wait for the trailer. I can't wait for all that stuff. We're just still so far away from this movie. So it's hard to go through the roof and be bouncing up and down like I do when we talk about Ahsoka Season 2 or like when we're about to talk about the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. It's hard to get that excited about something that's still so far. However, there is another. We do have a lot of news today to talk about when it comes to the Mandalorian and Grogu. which is a lot closer and might just have me bouncing up and down. Because this Mandalorian and Grogu movie stuff just keeps getting so much better. We have the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer, which gave us, not that much, but it's starting to become a lot very, very quickly. So let's take a look at this. So the Mandalorian and Grogu teaser trailer. We talked about this a little bit on Tuesday, but hang on. Now things have become a lot crazier, in a word. So the question that has been raised by Star Wars fans is, what is this snowy planet? Now, tell me in the chat, what do you think it is? Do you think it's Hoth? Do you think it's the one from the Bad Batch? Do you think it's Ilum? Tell me in the chat what you think this planet is. Because now, things have gone completely off the deep end. And I think I have fully figured out exactly what's going down in this Mandalorian and Grogu movie. I think I know pretty much what's going to happen. Now, granted, I don't know how the end of the movie is going to go. I still think Din Djarin could die, which would be just the perfect catalyst to this Avengers-level team up with Boba Fett, Bo-Katan, Luke Skywalker, and others against Grand Admiral Thrawn later down in the trilogy. However, with the rumors that we got last stream about there being this big opening battle scene on Navarro, which could lead to the death of Greef Karga because Carl Weathers sadly passed away, and you have to deal with that character one way or another. It would kickstart us into the Din trying to hunt down the people who killed his friend and attacked his home, because Din and Grogu's house will be destroyed in that fight. All of that to say, these pieces are coming together oh so nicely. The puzzle has been put together. So, from the leaks that say Navarro will have this big battle scene, I think we're going to lose the N1 Starfighter. We know that the Razor Crest becomes a big deal. It's the opening scene of this trailer is the Razor Crest flying through the sky. But from what we know, if you've seen The Mandalorian, you know that the Razor Crest gets blown up in season 2. Gets absolutely blown up. So why does he need a Razor Crest? Why is Din Djarin flying the Razor Crest? You think I know this trailer by now. There it is. Why is he back in the cockpit of a Razor Crest? Well, that does lead us to the leak that says that Navarro will have this big fight scene where Din Djarin and Grogu's home will be destroyed. Let me pull that up real quick. This right here. In The Mandalorian and Grogu, again, rumor, take it with a giant grain of salt, there will be a big fight scene on Navarro, and Din and Grogu's home will be destroyed, potentially at the start of the film. I think not only will their home be destroyed, but the N1 Starfighter that Din Djarin got in the Book of Boba Fett will also be destroyed, leaving Din Djarin yet again without a ship. Now, how does he get off Navarro? I don't know. Maybe he calls for help from the New Republic. Maybe Zeb comes and picks him up in his Razor Crest. Either way, it will lead to him stealing Zeb's Razor Crest, getting gifted Zeb's Razor Crest. Either way, he ends up with the Razor Crest again, which is great because although I loved the N1 Starfighter, and I still do, it doesn't really work for the character of Din Djarin. Like, it's more of just a speed racer. Like, it doesn't really work. How can you be a bounty hunter and not have any place to put your bounty with the N1 Starfighter? So I think this leak perfectly explains how you can destroy the N1 Starfighter in this big battle for Navarro, leaving Din Djarin stranded, and the only way he can get home, the only way he can get off the planet would be to call the New Republic in for backup. And maybe they're coming anyway to come save the day, because how is Din Djarin going to take down pirates or the Imperial Remnant by himself? And why the battle for Navarro is happening? Well, that's a great question too. There was an Imperial facility, cloning facility, on Navarro already. So the Empire will probably be pretty upset that Din Djarin and Greef Karga and Cara Dune were the ones who destroyed that cloning facility. So they'll be coming back to take their revenge. Either way, I think this leak is probably true. There will be a big old fight for Navarro. It makes sense to get rid of the N1 Starfighter so we can get a new Razor Crest, and it makes sense to end Grief Karga's story that way. So, RIP the N1 Starfighter. However, it does lead me to this. What is this planet? What is this planet? I want to see the M1 Starfighter on the big screen. Oh, you will. You'll probably get a really cool sequence of him flying the M1 Starfighter at the beginning of the movie, but then it's just going to go away. Yeah. So what planet is this? Ilum? Starkiller Base? It's certainly my favorite theory. However, there has been a new development in the theory that it could be Hoth. As we mentioned before, I brought up the galaxy map, and I'll do it again. The galaxy map for Star Wars shows Hoth, if I can zoom in right here, Hoth right next to Bespin. Bespin being Cloud City from The Empire Strikes Back. And the reason that's so important is because Bespin is supposed to be right off screen for The Mandalorian and Grogu. The Smuggler's Run ride at Disney Parks is canon to Star Wars, and it's going to have Din Djarin and Grogu with the Millennium Falcon going to Cloud City. So it makes sense that the events of the movie would take place right next door on Hoth. And there's an Imperial base there. They take over the Rebel one in the original trilogy. Okay? Yes, as Dave brings up, Hoth is more of a frozen ice ball. There's not a lot of trees there. But there are trees in this trailer shot. True. However, I don't know if maybe on the other side of Hoth there's trees. I don't know. Maybe not. But we do have another planet in close proximity that would make sense for the plot of the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. And that's Navarro. This planet that we just talked about that's going to have this big old battle is Navarro, and it's right there, if you come right down this hyperspace lane, right there in very close proximity to Hoth. The problem is, I think it's far more likely that that snowy planet is Ilum. But in order to get to Ilum from Navarro, you're going to have to zoom out. Very far out. Go all the way to the top of this map and find Ilum in the unknown regions all the way over here. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. Of course, Din Djarin could go for a nice hyperspace drive all the way to Ilum. It's not impossible. However, it is very far. And when you have Bespin going to be at least right off screen in the movie, we know that for a fact, and Navarro is going to be in the movie as well, we know that for a fact, those two planets are very close in proximity to Hoth, a frozen snowy planet, versus Ilum, which is billions of miles away. Maybe trillions. Yes. It could be a new planet. It could be. Yeah. Starkiller Base could be an option. It's new from this point in the timeline. What is the coolest thing about it being possibly Ilum or Starkiller Base? Because some fans, most normie fans, don't even know that Ilum is Starkiller Base. Like, they're the same place. But what's really cool about it is in the Jedi games, you see Ilum. That's where Cal Kestis goes to fix his lightsaber and get the Kyber Crystal. That's where the young Jedi in the Clone Wars go to get their Kyber Crystals. Ilum has been seen over and over again in Star Wars. Starkiller Base is only seen, really, in The Force Awakens, when it's completely done and ready to go, fully operational. The Mandalorian and Grogu is about 20-ish years before The Force Awakens, so it would give you a half-finished or very early days operations on Starkiller Base. So it'd be like that, getting to see the middle phase of getting from Ilum to Starkiller Base, which would be really, really cool. And it would give you Din Djarin in the know. I still think Din Djarin's going to die, but the more information that he finds out, the more likely it is he's going to die. So if he finds out that the remnant of the Empire is creating this super weapon out of a planet, Starkiller Base, then he's definitely a dead man. But all that to say, what do you think this planet is? It certainly looks the most like Starkiller Base when you look at the trees and the fact that, I guess, as many of you point out, there's not a lot of trees, if not any trees, on Hoth. This would be most likely Ilum. And there's a giant cliff right here, right next to the AT-AT. Giant cliff would, makes me think at least of the giant cliff that's in the middle of Ilum. Half the planet is a giant cliff. Yeah. Wasn't Sigourney Weaver's characters supposedly telling Din about a conflict in the Outer Rim / unknown regions in one of the leaks way back? I don't remember that. Maybe you're right, but I don't remember it. Yeah. Din Djarin knew too much. Exactly. If Din Djarin is the one who finds out about the Shadow Council and how united they actually are behind the scenes, he's a dead man. He has to. There are trees and cliffs on Vandor too. All right, let's look up Vandor. Vandor is the planet from Solo, correct? Vandor. Let's see. Let's see. So this is Vandor. The train heist sequence from Solo, a Star Wars story. I mean, it could be. The cliffs look a little bit more orange to me than this. Like, this looks exactly like Starkiller Base. Let me pull up the Starkiller Base one again. Let me do that. Yeah. This is Han and Chewie crash landing on Starkiller Base. Hang on. This. Like this. Oh. It looks... Let me go back a little bit. Yeah. This looks far more like the image from the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer to me than the other one. Like, this is the same sort of rocks that aren't nearly as orange, the same exact trees. Yeah. Mike, look at the image of Vandor on Wikipedia. Okay, hang on. Hang on. Oh, there we go. I'm not seeing it. I'm not even seeing Vandor on Wikipedia. Hang on. I'm not seeing it. Oh, there we go. Vandor on Wikipedia. Let's see. Oh, this image right here. Okay. Yeah, I guess. I don't really see many trees. If any trees. This is really cool. They got like buildings on the side there. On the side of the mountain. That's pretty cool. But either way, this image to me still, like, those rocks look very discolored. Orange, if you will. When you look at something like this right here, this scene in particular, the trees, the rocks, the snow look exactly the same, as this right here. Again, it could be a new planet. I'm not throwing that out of the realm of possibility. However, if you're thinking of this being a already existing planet, it being Ilum would be the coolest thing. The best part. Din Djarin finding the most important project for the First Order, the new Death Star, Starkiller Base. It would be so good. Plus, Mando has been used to set up the sequel trilogy for a while now with the cloning and Imperial remnants. Setting up Starkiller Base, which is just the start of the Imperial remnant, makes perfect sense. Exactly. This is not something new. the people who are screaming about the possibility of this connecting to the sequel trilogy and how horrible that's going to be, they clearly didn't watch the first 3 seasons of The Mandalorian because it connects to the sequels over and over again. Not just the back tank with something that looks like Snoke in it, but all of this is leading to the First Order and to this Starkiller base. So it would be perfect if the movie itself did set up Starkiller base. It would be much like Andor, where Andor, you're seeing in this first season, Cassian gets put into prison where he's making pieces to the Death Star. And then in the second season, he's the one who's trying to warn everybody about the Death Star. And it eventually leads into Rogue One. And, well, we get what we get. It would be really cool to see something similar to that, where Din Djarin, all these years before, sees Starkiller base. Maybe tries to do something about it, but maybe eventually dies in doing so. There's a lot of different ways they could go about doing this, but you're going to get a ton of sequel connections. Not just Ilum, Starkiller base, but Snoke has to rise to power at some point. The First Order needs to come out of somewhere. And when we see the Shadow Council in The Mandalorian Season 3, they are clearly all divided. Each Imperial warlord, although they're trying to be this united front, they are doing different things. Hux is working on Project Necromancer and Starkiller base. Pelion is just waiting for Thrawn to return and be the new heir to the Empire. Moff Gideon is cloning himself on Mandalore. Like, they're all just doing different things. They may think they want the same goal, but they really don't. And there's only one that comes out on top. And we know that one because we've seen the sequel trilogy. It's the First Order. It's Hux. It's Starkiller base. Those are the ones who win. Not Grand Admiral Thrawn. Definitely not Moff Gideon because he's already dead. But we know who wins. And it would be perfect if Din Djarin was already on the set. If he was already on board, already figuring it out. Yeah. Well, what do we think? Star Wars Holocron, what's up? Says, would you like to join my Star Wars trivia show here on TikTok one day? I'd love that. I'd love that. Star Wars trivia always makes me nervous. I think I know a lot about Star Wars, but do I really? Probably not. It's because they aren't united yet. Yeah, no, the Empire is not united at all. They need a leader. And that's what I think Snoke is going to be. I think Thrawn's going to try to be that leader, but I think he's going to fail miserably. I think Thrawn is going to want something very different than what the other people are going to want. Because Thrawn in canon, at least from the books that we have, is not a bad guy. He's trying to do all this. He joins the Empire to just help his people, to help the Chiss Ascendancy. He knows that there's a bigger threat out in the unknown regions, that being the Grisk, and he's trying to help his people just by joining the Empire, just by joining that main power in the galaxy to protect his people. Now, he uses that power to also help the galaxy and help the Empire, but when he comes back, when Palpatine's no longer there to give him orders, when Vader is gone, what's he going to try and do? Is he still going to try to protect his people? Is he still going to try and warn the New Republic about this big threat? How I would see it, if I were writing it, which I know I'm not, and I'm probably good thing I'm not because I'd probably do a horrible job. But the way I would do it is have Thrawn come in, see the New Republic as the now owners of the galaxy, and see that they are weak, really weak, and that they are not the almighty empire that came before them. And he thinks that he can do better. So he takes the remnant of the empire, what was before, and he's going to try to unite those people. It may not work. It may work, but it may not work. But either way, he's going to try. And I think in doing so, he's going to have a ton of people disagree with him. People like Moff Gideon, although he's dead. People like Moff Gideon, like Hux. They're going to say, no, we're not doing that. And in all that chaos is when Thrawn's going to lose, probably to Bo-Katan, Boba Fett, Luke Skywalker, and others, because Din Djarin's going to be dead. And he's going to lose, and that's when Snoke comes in. Snoke is the new leader. Palpatine put him there. He's got the Force. He's badass, and the First Order rises to power. That's how it should go. That's how I think it should go. Thrawn could be the key to Starkiller base? I don't think so. Because Thrawn, in the time of the original trilogy or right before it, he likes the TIE Defender stuff. Like the TIE Defender things that he's building on Lothal. He thinks that that's a way better use of Imperial credits than the Death Star. Because he's like, the Death Star is a waste of time. You're putting way too many resources into one thing that can be destroyed just like that. And well, as we know, he's right. But either way, Palpatine loves the Death Star. Tarkin, Krennic love the Death Star. And Thrawn hates it. He thinks it's a stupid idea. So I wouldn't really see him being on board with another Death Star with Starkiller Base. Yeah. Okay. Hang on. We got a super chat here. Let me get to that too. Oh, Will of the Force. What's up, Will? How we doing? With a very generous $2 haul, it says Grogu will beat Thrawn by eating his pet Ysalamari. I mean, that would be crazy. Eating it. But you do bring up a great question. Will the Ysalamari be brought into canon? Live action, I guess? The Ysalamari in Legends are these lizards that are able to repel the Force. So the way that Grand Admiral Thrawn can stand toe-to-toe with Luke Skywalker is because Luke can't use the Force around him. As long as that lizard is sitting on his shoulder, there's no ability to use the Force around Grand Admiral Thrawn. It's like a force field almost of the Force. Now, that has not been brought yet into canon. Or into live action, I guess. So, I don't know if they will because, you know, they're going to do the Night Sister thing, and that's Night Sister magic. That's a lot of power there. But we shall see. Thrawn may be undone by Snoke, another Force user causing Thrawn's demise. It'd be really cool to see like Thrawn try to be a good guy, try to warn the Empire. And in doing so, warn the New Republic. And in doing so, he puts a big target on his back, and Snoke is the one who has to kill him. You have to set up Snoke as a good villain. That's very clear. You have to make Snoke be a badass in the time before The Force Awakens. Because everybody knows his name. Leia, Han, Luke, they all know who Snoke is. So for the next 20 years leading up to the sequel trilogy, Snoke's going to have to make a name for himself. If he's the one who kills Thrawn, that would be pretty good. I'd like that a lot. If we do get a Mandalorian and Grogu trilogy, it's not going to be a good ending. It's not going to be a happy ending. It's going to end with the bad guys winning because the First Order rises to power. Yeah. Okay, we got some other super chats here. Let me get to these real quick. Another Mike who loves Star Wars, a very generous $2 holla. I appreciate that. Says, haven't heard it in a while. Can I get a Chewie impression? Oh, might be a little rusty here. Let's see. It does. You really got to, reach down for that. John Groom with a very generous $5 holla says, Mike, do you have a look at Darrow on the map? Empire trained stormtroopers there, and it is an ice planet. Is Darrow the one from the Bad Batch? Darrow, Star Wars. Darrow's not an ice planet. What are you talking about? This, according to my research, which has been just the last 5 seconds, this is Darrow. Not really an ice planet. Maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't look very icy to me. Yeah. And another Michael of Star Wars with the 13-month membership badge. Holy crap, that's insanely generous. Darrow is in the Outer Rim. N6 on the map. Okay, let's see. N6. N6. Whoa, Darrow is, what is Darrow from? It is awfully close on this map to At-Aten and Dothamir. It's right there. And Wayland, which is where Mount Tantus is. And even Mandalore is right there next to it. It is very close. Hang on. Now I got to relook up Daro. Daro. It is from the Bad Batch. Project War Mantle, sorry. Aiming to replace the clone trooper army. Oh, this is where they find Gregor. I just watched this episode. Okay. Yes. So it's supposed to be a planet with nothing on it, and then there's this secret Imperial base on it where they find Gregor. Aha. I do remember this planet. Interesting. Secret Imperial base where they make Stormtroopers. And it just so happens to be right next door to where Grand Admiral Thrawn is out of, Dathomir. So if we look in this little tiny section of the Star Wars galaxy map, you have Thrawn's home base in Dathomir. You have At-Aten, where he can have all the credits his heart desires, all the credits in the world, on At-Aten from Skeleton Crew, which we're talking about Skeleton Crew Season 2 today. And then right down here, he can retrain some Stormtroopers on the hidden Imperial base on Daro. He can go to Wayland and clone Luke Skywalker, or clone any sort of being, I guess, he wants to, with Mount Tantus. And then he can go over here to Mandalore and take over the Mandalorians. Really, when you look at this map, he doesn't have to go too far to do anything. Thrawn can just, stay in his own little section of the galaxy and take over very slowly. Yeah. KG, what's up? How we doing? Isn't this movie going to feature a multi-biome planet? I mean, it could. I think Ahsoka is going to be the first to do that with Peridia. Because most planets in Star Wars, they're really just one biome. I don't know why still, but they are. It makes it easy for the audience. Daro, it's all forest. Mandalore, it's all glass now. Wayland, it's also all forest. Dathomir, it's all whatever that is. It's all red. Yeah. It's all red. Mando United, what's up? I wonder if we go to At-Aten in the Mandalorian Grogu movie. I doubt it, but probably in Ahsoka Season 2. I think you're going to see Thrawn go and take At-Aten so that he can steal all their credits. Maybe even team up with Jod Nah-Nah-Wood. All right, since we have the perfect, transition here, let's talk about Skeleton Crew Season 2. Let's start it with the poll. Wow, this poll is very close. 55% of you say no, you don't think Starfighter will be the beginning of a trilogy. Well, 45% say yes. Pretty split down the middle right there. All right. Do you want a Skeleton Crew, I can't type, Season 2? Yes or no? It's kind of crazy and we forget, but Skeleton Crew ended this year. The beginning of this year, we were watching Skeleton Crew Season 1. So it hasn't been that long since we got Skeleton Crew. However, there is so much more story that can be told with those characters. Not just the kids, but Jod Nah-Nah-Wood and the planet of At-Aten itself. It's clearly set up to be something bigger in the Mandoverse because they could have put that story anywhere they wanted to. And they chose right smack dab in the middle of the Mandoverse and put At-Aten on the galaxy map right next door to where Thrawn is on Dathomir. Coincidence? I think not. Yeah. Lucas, what's up? Do I read any Star Wars novels? Yes, I'm actually reading Thrawn Ascendancy right now. If you guys have not checked out the new Shadow of the Sith, no. Shadow of the Sith is the other book. What is the new Vader novel that just came out yesterday? Something evil. Shadow of Evil? No. Master of Evil. Yes, Master of Evil. Thank you, Chad. Master of Evil came out yesterday. It's a new Vader novel. Yeah. Okay. Where were we? So At-Aten is right next to Dathomir. Coincidence? I think not. So we got this news. Finally, an update, or the best thing we got, closest thing we got to an update from John Watts himself. So John Watts was asked if he wanted to do, if he wanted to do season 2 of Skeleton Crew. And here was his answer. I mean, I love Star Wars. I'd love to do anything in Star Wars, in the Star Wars universe, and I think we set it up in a way where the story can continue in a lot of interesting ways. Let's not forget when Skeleton Crew season 1 was coming out, we did get John Watts telling us that there was an idea for season 2 and that they would not be Stranger Things, because in Stranger Things from season 1 to season 2, the kids aren't really supposed to grow up that much, but they are like 5 years older. And now you have 21-year-old kids playing like 14-year-old kids. So it's a big issue because child actors grow up very quickly. They do have that in place. John Watts has an idea where season 2 would have a big time jump from season 1 so that the kids wouldn't look out of place because they will look older. Now, where we left off with these characters in season 1, specifically Wim, at least, has a lightsaber. You kind of are led to believe that he could end up being this, Force sensitive at Luke's Jedi Temple type character, which would be really, really cool. Is Master of Evil? Yeah. Fold them into Ahsoka season 2. It could be. We don't know how much season 2 of Ahsoka is going to dive into anything Skeleton Crew, but we do know that Ezra, Hera, and Chopper will all be on Dathomir, which again is right next door to At-Aten. And At-Aten is controlled by the New Republic right now. So although Skeleton Crew didn't really set us up on any cliffhangers or anything like that, it did leave us with At-Aten being controlled by the New Republic. So there's a New Republic base on this planet, right next door to Grand Admiral Thrawn's home base. Yeah. So there's a lot more to it. That's for dang sure. Child actors grow up at the same speed as regular kids. Yes. I'm just saying that there's multiple years in between creating projects and it will, they will look older. Master of Evil is incredible. No spoilers. I'm almost done. Nice. Yeah, I got to get my hands on it as soon as possible. Okay. But by the way, almost 80% of you guys right now in the chat say yes, you do want a Skeleton Crew season 2. I definitely want a Skeleton Crew season 2. Those characters, that story itself is so much fun. It's completely underrated. Not a lot of people watched it because it was sort of a kids show, because there's kids as the main characters, but I mean, come on. It's incredibly good. And a lot of it might have to do with the Acolyte too. A lot of people, there was an all-out war in our Star Wars fandom because of the Acolyte. So that didn't really help the viewership numbers when it came to Skeleton Crew season 1. However, you're still getting Dave Filoni's movie. Dave Filoni's movie is supposed to be this culmination of all these different Mandoverse projects. Not just Mando, not just Boba Fett, not just Ahsoka, but Skeleton Crew too. So those characters will likely appear, if not in Ahsoka season 2, then in Dave Filoni's movie. Yeah. Precisely. Yeah. I'd like more information on how the jewels planets were chosen in Skeleton Crew. You mean like the hidden planets? And how the planets like At-Aten came to be. But I see that being rolled out into comics eventually. I think it goes back to the High Republic. I mean, they're called a part of the Great Works. That's what it was called, the Great Works. And the Great Works are something that Chancellor Lena So worked on. And that was during the time of the High Republic. So I think that all connects back to the High Republic books and all that stuff. But there is no mention of them in the High Republic books, so maybe it's a story for another time. Yeah. Yeah. I choose no for Skeleton Crew Season 2 only because I think it would be better to bring in those casts into the story, into the future movies and shows. So you think no Season 2 because you can just put them into other projects? That does make sense. You always have to think of, or I always have to remind you guys that the latest rumor that we had for Jod Na Nawud, or Jude Law's character, was that Jude Law would be in a lot of Star Wars moving forward. This probably happened early this year, maybe in like April or May. But around the time where all this craziness was happening with Star Wars Celebration, we were getting Andor Season 2, the leak came out that in upcoming Star Wars projects, meaning Mandalorian and Grogu, Ahsoka Season 2, and the Mandoverse stuff, we're going to be getting a lot of Jude Law in Star Wars. Again, that was just a rumor, so take it with a giant grain of salt. But if that's true, that you can put this character anywhere. He could turn, well, he was evil at the end of the season, so he could end up being a help for Grand Admiral Thrawn, a Force user on his side. Or he could end up being a good guy. Either way, he could be in Ahsoka Season 2, he could be in The Mandalorian and Grogu, he could be in anything because he's that sort of type of character who could appear anywhere. Yeah. A lot more Jude Law would be, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I love me some Jude Law. Can I get some good cuts follow orders in the chat, please? Bumpa. So more Jude Law probably means more Skeleton Crew, or at least the kids themselves. Yeah, Jude Law could be the canon version of Jorah Sabaoth for sure, although Jorah was definitely more powerful than Jude Law. Or Jod, I should say. Yeah, way more powerful. I don't know. There's so many loose ends that need to be cleared up. For example, the Bad Batch. You not only established that Omega went and joined the rebellion, so she could be with the New Republic at this point, and she could be a very big part of the story because Omega is the only person that we know of that can transfer midichlorians from one being to another. So she's the key to Project Necromancer. Then you have Mount Tantus, which is set up in the Bad Batch 2, a cloning facility which in Legends Thrawn uses to create a clone army, or an army of clones. A clone army in Legends. So in that planet is Wayland, or Mount Tantus is on Wayland, and as we just pointed out, Dathomir is right here next to Wayland. So are those loose ends from the Bad Batch of Omega and Mount Tantus going to be tied up in this Mandoverse? And not only that, you have the idea that Skeleton Crew, although it doesn't leave you on a cliffhanger, leaves you with loose ends, leaves you with Jod Nawood, leaves you with these kids and what their future could be. Maybe possibly one of them, Wim, being Force sensitive in a Jedi at Luke's Jedi Temple and gets killed by Kylo Ren. But either way, there's a ton of loose ends that need to be tied together in the Mandoverse, possibly in a trilogy. I'm actually looking at this map right here now, and I'm seeing other places that are very close. Yavin 4, right here. Sereno, Count Dooku's home planet right there. Kofar, that's from the Acolyte. Huh. More and more you look at this map, the crazier and crazier it gets. I was looking, oh, there's Dantooine. I was looking down here back next to Navarro. Navarro's right here. What's right next door? Mustafar. Because why not? Because why not? Yeah. But all that to say, would you want a Skeleton Crew Season 2? Right now, the only live-action Star Wars Disney Plus show that we have is Ahsoka Season 2. At least the one that's announced. So, after that, are we just going to get no more live-action Disney Plus shows? I don't think so. So Skeleton Crew Season 2 would be an easy one to announce, where you could do Mandalorian and Grogu movie, Ahsoka Season 2, second Mandalorian trilogy movie, Skeleton Crew Season 2, and then third Mando trilogy movie. It could be an in-between filler type thing, which would be pretty cool. Yeah. What is the Dragon Void? What the hell is the Dragon Void, Jet? And there's Gorman right there. Gorman, right next door to the Dragon Void. All right, I got to look up what the Dragon Void is. Okay, hang on. A little sidetracked here. Dragon Void. Star Wars. The Dragon Void Run. Also simply known as the Dragon Void. was an old, dangerous race held in the galaxy. The race traveled between 3 planets, stopping for mandatory refueling points at each. Pilots of the Dragon Void would train specifically for the race. So it's just a race? Oh, during the Galactic Civil War, the smuggler Han Solo entered the race as an undercover agent for the Alliance to restore the Republic to rescue rebel spies. Sorry. Interesting. The appearances are Solo, so Han Solo 1, Han Solo 2, Han Solo 3, Han Solo 4, Han Solo 5. It's mentioned in Squadrons and in Star Wars Adventures 2017. Mentioned only. There you go. Didn't think we'd be talking about the Dragon Void today, but you know, the stream takes us where it takes us. Yeah. Two shows I miss dearly are The Bad Batch and Andor. Oh, yeah. I mean, The Bad Batch speaks for itself, and so does Andor, I suppose. But Andor ended this year. Snoke is shaping up to possibly become the canon version of Jorah's Sabaoth. I was always hoping that Palpatine used Plagueis and his corpse to create Snoke. That would be really cool. But I don't think that's... I don't know if it's canon or not, but there's like a giant... I don't know, vase, an urn, if you will, in Palpatine's office in Revenge of the Sith, and Plagueis' ashes are supposed to be in that. I don't know if that's canon or just legends, but if his ashes are in that, I don't think his body is, you know, around anymore. Yeah. But I do think Snoke is going to play a big role. For so many people, Snoke was like this really cool mystery of who is this guy. Everybody thought he could have been like Mace Windu or Plagueis or anybody, but he eventually just became, you know, a puppet for Palpatine and was killed off in The Last Jedi. So in order for us to get more Snoke, you have to go before the sequels, and that's what we're getting right now. So we're going to quickly transition from Thrawn to the First Order to Snoke and get even more of that character. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Moving on slightly here. We do got to talk about this. Oh, wait, what? Oh, we already read that. Another day, another Hunt for Ben Solo news. Oh, George Lucas's museum. Ah, yes. So George Lucas's museum did get a release date. So September 22nd, 2026, the museum will open. George Lucas spent over $1 billion, or around $1 billion, to create this museum. It's not just Star Wars based, but there is a ton of Star Wars stuff, from life-size pod racers to life-size Naboo starfighters to just General Grievous's roly-poly thing from Revenge of the Sith. A lot of really cool Star Wars stuff, but that does open September 22nd of next year. So just about a year from now, or just under a year from now. So, yeah. George Lucas's museum opening. There you go. Now let's talk about this. So, Rian Johnson, a fan favorite name in the Star Wars universe. Rian Johnson. Yeah. Rian Johnson, who directed The Last Jedi, probably the most divisive Star Wars project of all time, has opened his mouth about the hunt for Ben Solo. Hunt for Ben Solo. Adam Driver told us all about how great this movie was going to be. It was ready to shoot, and Lucasfilm loved it, but Disney shut it down. Bob Iger and Alan Bergman specifically shut it down, and now Star Wars fans are trying to make it happen. The Hunt for Ben Solo, as quickly as I can, summarize all of that over and over again. But here's what Rian Johnson had to say. Take my money. Heard that before. Rian Johnson wants Adam Driver's Hunt for Ben Solo as much as fans do. It's been a turbulent month for Star Wars fans. But at least one filmmaker from the galaxy far, far away is standing firmly with them, with the fans. Ironic. The guy who fans probably hate the most. I don't hate him, but a lot of Star Wars fans do. The guy that Star Wars fans hate the most is standing with them for the hunt for Ben Solo. During a Collider-hosted Q&A for the new Knives Out movie, the third movie of the trilogy, Rian Johnson reacted to the ongoing fan campaign to revive the hunt for Ben Solo and the somehow not developing sequel that would have followed Adam Driver's Redeemed Jedi after The Rise of Skywalker. Rian Johnson, who directed The Last Jedi and has remained publicly supportive of Adam Driver's work, told Collider's Stephen Weintraub this: "Take my money. I only know what I read about it online. I didn't know anything about it, but who knows how things are developed these days. But man, I will watch Adam Driver in anything. But I would love to see him play that character again." So, the backing that Star Wars fans may not have thought was coming comes from Rian Johnson, the director of The Last Jedi, as he is all for it. And he even puts in, "but who knows how things are developed these days," because talking about how there is still hope if fans want it to be done. Now, tell me in the chat if you still think that this Hunt for Ben Solo movie will happen. Yes or no? And honestly, I think it will. I still am of the mind, now we're about a month away, or a month out since Adam Driver told us all about this project, but I think it can still happen. Why not? He wants to watch Adam Driver? Who doesn't want to watch Adam Driver? No body, no death. When it comes to Force users, that in my book, well, his body does disappear, but that only gives more backing to the whole world between worlds stuff that could easily happen to bring this character back to life. But it does bring up a good point here. Rian Johnson's reaction comes amidst the surge of fan-led activism across the canceled project, a grassrooted movement that has become one of the most passionate fan campaigns since #release the Snyder Cut era. This happened. Let's not forget, the Snyder Cut of the Justice League movie, it did get released. The fans won. And I don't know about you guys, but I think the Star Wars fandom might be a little bit, bigger than the Snyder fandom. Just a tad bit. Yeah. Just a tad. Here's the thing. If they were to announce a Hunt for Ben Solo movie, with the fans having backed it this entire time and wanting it to happen, you're going to see a better reaction to a Hunt for Ben Solo movie than you would to a Rey movie, or maybe even Starfighter. Because when it comes to Starfighter, we don't know much of anything. When it comes to the Rey movie, people don't really like that character. But when it comes to Ben Solo, when it comes to Kylo Ren, he is, for the most part, the fan favorite character of that sequel trilogy. So if you were to announce any post-sequel world content that is connected to those sequel characters, the one that's going to get you the most positive attention would be a Ben Solo project. The Rey movie, since it's been announced, has been talked about with the, not very open arms. I think this movie would be a very different conversation, where more Star Wars fans would be open to it. What do we think? No one wants to put $250 million to make a Ben Solo movie. Stop talking nonsense. But they will for a Rey movie? Because that's what they're going to do. Yeah. I don't know about that. This live stream is going too quick. I feel like it just started. Oh my God, we're already at an hour and 19 minutes. That's insane. We're not even going to get to. Okay, we got to move a little bit quicker here. He's not my favorite character from the sequels. Finn and Poe were better characters in my opinion. Well, there you go. I mean, he's my favorite character in, by far, Kylo Ren. And the Ben Solo stuff was cool too, but I want more Ben Solo. You know? The hunt for Ben Solo helps every other Star Wars project. Exactly. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the hunt for Ben Solo is at the top of everybody's Star Wars project list, because it's not. It's not even at mine either. I would way rather like a young Palpatine, a Plagueis show, even the Dawn of the Jedi, any Old Republic stuff, even the Mandoverse trilogy, I would way rather prefer than a Hunt for Ben Solo movie. However, I would take a Hunt for Ben Solo movie 11 times out of 10 over Starfighter or the Rey movie, because I know that I love the character of Kylo Ren and I want more of that. And the possibility of what it could be with the World Between Worlds and Luke and Leia and Han and all that greatness of bringing back that character specifically is what I'd want. The Rey movie, we've talked about a million times on this live stream, and it always ends with the very split down the middle. We want more Rey. We don't want more Rey. Arguments till the cows come home. With Ben Solo, there'll be a lot less of that. Yeah. Rey is the star. Kylo is the bad guy, side character. I wouldn't call him a side character, but he's definitely the bad guy. He's the main villain. She's the main hero. The dyad in the Force. Yeah. They haven't put money towards the Rey movie. Well, they hired a director and like 10 different writers to write different scripts, so they've definitely spent some money. Yeah. Definitely. I'd love to see Darth Rey. Darth Rey would be great. You can only imagine the internal conflict that it would have to go through to choose between having the hunt for Ben Solo or an Acolyte Season 2. Yeah. How about both? How about both? People still won't show up. Oh, you'd be surprised. You would be surprised. Ryan Johnson, as we go on here, talking about the Snyder Cut and how this happened and how the fans got this to happen. And the Star Wars fandom is quite a lot bigger than this Snyder fandom. But, and Ryan Johnson, of course, working on his other stuff. And then it describes what's going on. When Adam Driver says it's one of the coolest effing scripts he's ever been a part of, that excites me. When Dave Filoni loved it so much and they worked on it for over 2 years, that gets me excited. When everybody was on board, they spent $3 million to create a script. That gets me excited. Yeah. So, how are fans reacting to the hunt for Ben Solo? Well, they've done some pretty crazy stuff. I mean, to bring back Ben Solo's sign and all this other stuff we've talked about. We've talked about that a million times over again. Yeah. Now, before we run out of time, I got 2 more things I want to talk about. 2 kind of unrelated things. Going back to the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, we do have some other news there. On November 20th, so in 7 days, this time next week, we are getting the newest issue of Empire Magazine, which will feature the Mandalorian and Grogu and possibly a sort of maybe interviews with the cast and crew, directors and stuff. Maybe even a new special look at the movie, which they've given usually the Empire Magazine articles or the Empire whatever articles. They have official stills. You usually get the first official stills from the movie. So we could be getting new scenes from the Mandalorian and Grogu this time next week in this new Empire Magazine. So that's really cool. November 20th. Keep an eye out on that. And I scroll down here a little bit. Where was this? Oh, yeah, this. This is what I want to talk about. Yesterday, we talked about this a little bit already, was the 6-year anniversary of Disney Plus, and being that the 6-year anniversary of The Mandalorian, Season 1 premiere. In the last 6 years, on Disney Plus, we have gotten an insane amount of Star Wars content. From Mando, Season 1, 2, and 3, to Skeleton Crew, which we talked about today, Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, The Acolyte, Andor, Kenobi. That's just the live action stuff. We've gotten Bad Batch season 1, 2, 3, Clone Wars season 7, Tales of the Jedi, Empire, and Underworld. I feel like I'm forgetting something else. Even if I am. Either way, over the last 6 years, us as Star Wars fans, we might have taken it for granted because we've gotten some insane amount of Star Wars content. Some of it being the best Star Wars content we've ever received. Mando, Andor, for me, Ahsoka, Clone Wars 7, some of the best Star Wars content to ever exist, just in the last 6 years on Disney+. So, first and foremost, that begs the question, well, what are the next 6 years going to look like? Because it could be incredible. But also, I got to ask, in the last 6 years, what has been your favorite Star Wars project? I was on Star Wars Jedi Chat podcast last night. Shout out to Ron, Nick, and Derek. And I asked them the same question. And I thought about it. It's almost an impossible question to answer, and that's why I'm asking you guys. What's your favorite project been in the last 6 years on Disney+? Because it's all been so good. And I lie awake at night staring at the ceiling because I don't sleep, yeah. I lie awake at night staring at the ceiling, and I sit there and I go, we couldn't be having a better, it's the best time to be a Star Wars fan. The best time. Because I'm having an issue with trying to figure out which of the last 6 years, which project is my favorite Star Wars project. There are so many that I can't choose one. That's the problem that you want to have as a fan of Star Wars. There's just too many. So I could, choose a specific season. If we're going just by season, it's Ahsoka season 1. If we're going just by shows, it's probably The Mandalorian. Because 1, 2, and 3, you put all those 3 together, it's probably The Mandalorian. If we're going by animation, I still think Bad Batch season 3 is better than Clone Wars season 7. But if we're going by arc, Siege of Mandalore is the best by far. And that's Clone Wars season 7. And then you throw in Andor. Andor season 2 is a freaking masterpiece. Season 1's good too. But you add in the trilogy, probably the greatest trilogy of all time of Andor season 1, 2, and Rogue One. We live such a great lives as Star Wars fans that we can't even choose just one. There's too many. You lie awake at night thinking of your kill count? No! Hey, over the last 6 years, I've been pretty on point with my kills. Think of all the characters who've died over the last 6 years on Disney+. There's a lot. Tech. Jesse. I don't know. I'm blanking on all of them. There's a bajillion. Queel. I don't know. A lot more. They all die. Yeah. Ahsoka has to be the one I go back and rewatch the most. Oh, me too. Yeah. Me too. It's so rewatchable. You just want to watch one episode, go watch episode 5, where it's Ahsoka versus Anakin in the War Between Worlds. Peak over and over again. But let's see. What are our favorite Star Wars projects over the last 6 years on Disney+? And take a second to look back and go, holy crap, it's the greatest time ever to be a Star Wars fan. Literally the greatest time of all time. Because over the last 6 years, we've gotten some insane amount of content. And next year, we're going back to the big screen. We're going back to the movie theaters with The Mandalorian and Grogu and Starfighter, which we talked about both today, because we're just getting some insane news all the time, because it's the greatest time ever to be a Star Wars fan. But as I was saying, top 3 are Andor, Acolyte, and Ahsoka. The 3 A's. Gotta love that. R.I.P. Tech, of course. Andor, Mando Season 1, and then everything else after that. Okay. When Mando brought back Luke, put it as my top show. Nice, that's a great scene. I can't choose just one, to be honest. My top 4 are The Mandalorian, The Acolyte, Ahsoka, and Kenobi. Love that. What's funny about a lot of these lists, too, as I see Andor Season 1, Mando Season 1, and Skeleton Crew Season 1, all these lists are very different. People mentioning Skeleton Crew, The Acolyte, Kenobi, Ahsoka, Andor. It is different content. Like, for the last 6 years, we've gotten stuff, a bounty hunting mission or bounty hunter sort of mission of the week type stuff. That's The Mandalorian. You want a spy thriller, that's Andor. You want stuff that dives deeper into the lore of Star Wars and the Force and all that cosmic stuff in Star Wars, that's Ahsoka. You want more lightsaber duels and murder type dark side, if you will, perspective, that's The Acolyte. You want more peak of just Vader versus Obi-Wan, that's the Kenobi series. And each project has its own sort of good to it. Kenobi's got that finale. I mean, The Mandalorian's got so much, it's even hard to talk about it. Andor Season 2's got from episode 7 to episode 12, peak. The Acolyte's last episode and 5th episode. Book of Boba Fett, From the Desert Comes a Stranger. I mean, come on. Wait, Sid Season 1, 2027? No, definitely not. The only problem I have with Andor, with Bad Batch, is that Sid doesn't die. That's it. That's it. The Siege of Mandalore is a work of absolute genius. Oh, 100%. It made me appreciate Revenge of the Sith even more. The Clone Wars is the most important Star Wars TV show. Either that or The Mandalorian. You think about the importance of what Clone Wars did, which was keep Star Wars alive after the prequel trilogy. It allowed Star Wars to go to the small screen, which was TV. But The Mandalorian, for so many people, 6 years ago, when Disney Plus premiered, it saved Star Wars. For so many. The Mandalorian brought them back. Or brought them to Star Wars in the first place. Yeah. So although we've had the bad news of Star Wars movies that have been canceled or whatever, like we should have gotten a Star Wars movie over the last 6 years, we've had plenty of incredible Star Wars content. And we don't really take enough time to look back and go, holy crap, we've been eating good as Star Wars fans. Real good. Because we have. Yeah. Did you see the Super Mario Galaxy movie trailer? Yes, I did. And actually, I'm excited. I like the Super Mario movie, the first one. So, yeah. I didn't play Super Mario Galaxy, like, at all. So I don't really understand some of the references. But I did play a lot of Super Smash and Super Mario Bros. So I think I'll get there. The Bad Batch, The Mandalorian, and/or The Acolyte, Ahsoka are my top 5. Nice. And then there's animation. Like, it was a great time. It's a great time to be a Star Wars fan. It really is. It really, really is. Because it didn't even bring up Tales of the Jedi. Tales of the Jedi is just Dooku and Ahsoka peak for the entirety of 6 episodes. I've been watching Rebels with my daughter, and she loves it. Gotta love that. Rebels did not come out in the 6 years that Disney Plus has existed, but it is still my favorite Star Wars show of all time. Yeah. May Sid get force choked by Darth Vader. Incredible. That would be peak. Yeah. Oh, this was the other thing. For people holding out hope, as we talked about The Acolyte for a little bit, for people holding out hope that The Acolyte Season 2 could ever still happen, or at least just a continuation of the character of Kymir / The Stranger, on November 17th, so in 4 days from now, The Stranger's lightsaber hilt will be available on Disney stores. So the lightsaber hilt is pretty badass. It's the one that splits into 2, like a mini lightsaber and a bigger one. And it's the one that he uses in the show. The hilt itself is really cool. I think that'll be a detachable piece right there where it detaches. But Manny Jacinto had this to say. I heard that my lightsaber might be coming out soon to the public. I think this is just a small step that can help us out. But it's also painful thinking about what could have been. So he's talking about how it could be a help for Star Wars fans to sort of back that idea that this Acolyte show could continue, but it also hurts him because, what could have been. It is a great lightsaber hilt. It reminds me of almost Cal Kestis's with those two sort of metal pieces coming up like that. But, yeah. So there you have it. November 17th, 4 days from now, on the Disney stores, you can get the Stranger's lightsaber hilt. Yeah. Does it come with multiple Jedi to slay? I don't think so. I don't think so. I certainly hope not, at least. By the way, 77% of you right now say that you do want an Acolyte season. Skeleton Crew season 2. Gotta love that. Got to love that. Okay, we talked about that. We talked about that. Oh, Maul Shadow Lord. Not really too much news on Maul Shadow Lord. What's weird about this show is it's supposed to be the first thing that comes out next year. Maul Shadow Lord, that is. And we know, so little about it. We know more about Ahsoka Season 2, more about Mandalorian and Grogu. We probably even know more about Starfighter by now than we do about this Maul Shadow Lord series. But that's sort of been the MO when it comes to Star Wars animation. They usually just release a trailer like a month before its release date, and then they just go from there. They're like, okay, this is what's coming next. Get excited. And we do, because it's going to be incredible. But not too much other than Sam Witwer saying that, what happens now that the Jedi are gone? What does Maul do? And now he's training his own apprentice, all that stuff. It's going to be great. Hopefully give us Darth Talon, if we're lucky. Yeah. They always keep such a tight lid on animation projects. Yeah, Lucasfilm can keep a secret. That there's no denying that. They can keep a pretty good secret. So, yeah. Sam Witwer said he was already filming or recording lines for Maul Shadow Lord a year before Star Wars Celebration. So it's been a while in the making. Yeah. I think we'll get a Maul Shadow Lord trailer in December. Because I think it'll come out in February. So I think we'll get a trailer in December, probably a second trailer in January, and we could go from there. It'd be nice if it came out earlier than that, but I'm just being realistic. February is my realistic one. If I was hoping and dreaming, you could be talking end of December, early January. Why not? But until then, we'll have to, keep speculating ourselves. We talked about that. Oh, this was the last thing, too. We talked about Oscar Isaac last stream and how he might be coming back to Star Wars. He's open to it now. And it doesn't hurt that him and Pedro Pascal are good pals, because Pedro Pascal is the Mandalorian. So it could be that these two could be in Star Wars yet again, because Pedro Pascal will be in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. So there you have it. That's about it. That's all I got for you today. Mandalorian and Grogu trailer could drop in December too. Yeah, maybe. I don't know when we get the second trailer for it. The big news for the Mandalorian and Grogu is, all the leaks we talked about today, but that this time next week, there'll be an Empire magazine article about it, which usually comes with official stills from the movie and usually new scenes. So there'll be a lot of Mandalorian and Grogu movie news next week. Yeah. All right, but with that, I do have to get on out of here. I got to go finish up the short for today. So go check out that in about an hour. And if you have not yet already, smash a freaking like in the stream. How many likes do we have, Chad? How many likes do we have? Am I going to be upset? Smash a freaking like in the stream if you have not already. Hit that subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified every time I post a video. And my pretty face will show up the recommended feed of yours. All right, I think. Okay. Cool. But until next time, may the Force be with you. Always. yeah, what a great stream. What a great show. You guys are the absolute best. I appreciate you all so much more than you'll ever know. This was quite the live stream. I mean, we went all over the place from literally Super Mario Galaxy to to Starfighter to the Mandalorian and Grogu to anything and everything in between. We talked about it all, even the Acolyte. But as I've said a million times, even today, it is such a great time to be a Star Wars fan. The last 6 years on Disney Plus have just been the greatest, and it just keeps on going. 2026 could be the best year ever in Star Wars with Maul, Shadow Lord, Mandalorian, and Grogu, and Ahsoka Season 2. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? But until then, I hope you have a great rest of your evening, great rest of your lives, and good night, everybody.